Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Overview and Scrutiny Committee. Particularly like to welcome Councillor Pauline Allen to her first meeting. So, welcome. Do we have any apologies or substitutions? Councillor Ellis?
We have an apology from Councillor Ron McCrossan.
Thank you. Everyone else present and correct? Thank you. So first of all, we've got the minutes of the meeting that was held on the 10th of March. Are there any matters of accuracy? No? So we're happy to approve these as a correct record. Can I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Ellis. Can we vote on that, please? Thank you. Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you. So they're approved. Just before we start, because of ill health, we don't have anyone here from Cabinet this evening. That's why the agenda's a bit lighter than usual. And we don't have any partners this evening because we didn't identify anyone extra last time, but I'm told we've got somebody coming to the next meeting. Thank you. Okay. So, item 3, any declarations of interest? Nope. And item 4, procurement policy update, and I'm assuming that's Fran.
Thank you, Chair. This report provides an update on work undertaken to review the Council's procurement function and ensure compliance with the Procurement Act 2023, which went live in February of this year. The report provides detail on some of the activity that the procurement project team have been undertaking across the Council following a review of the function with support of consultant Spend Solutions. Activities include changes to our contract and procurement rules, which were approved by Council in January, training for all officers involved in procurement to ensure better understanding of the new rules and the Procurement Act, implementation of a new contract management module on our Intend software system to ensure better oversight of contracts, including expiry and extension timelines, a review and refresh of our published contracts register, a review of our supplier spend and contract compliance across departments, and the creation of a new operating model for our procurement function. Our procurement function historically has been provided by another local authority. It was originally Bolsover and then they transferred to North East Derbyshire. That arrangement came to an end on the 31st of March this year. It's recognised that effective procurement and contract management can support delivery of many of our council priorities, including efficiencies in spending. It's also recognised that the level of capacity we procured from our previous providers was insufficient to meet our ambitious delivery plans as part of the Gedling plan. As such, and to ensure Gedling's procurement function was sufficient and compliant with the new Act, an in-house contract and procurement manager was appointed and started at the Council mid-April. To support him, additional capacity was secured through a different shared service provider, Orbis Procurement. And Orbis are a local authority provider established by Surrey County Council and have been providing support to us since April of this year. In March of this year, Cabinet approved a new procurement strategy. This sets out the overarching objectives of the Council's procurement function going forward and satisfies historic internal audit recommendations. The document has been prepared taking into account the Government's National Procurement Policy Statement, which was published in February 2025, and seeks to align national and local priorities into one document. The strategy sets out how the Council's procurement activity can support the Gedling Plan priorities and sets out a list of objectives linked to each priority, along with details of how those objectives have been or will be met. In summary, the strategy sets out how procurement will support economic growth by enabling small and medium-sized enterprises and voluntary community and social enterprises to easily engage with our procurement opportunities. The Council seeks to encourage bids from local suppliers and will work with suppliers who treat their employees well and provide development and growth opportunities for local talent. Procurement opportunities will be sought with suppliers who seek to mitigate environmental impacts in their business, aligning with our carbon management approach, and those suppliers who are inclusive and support opportunities for young people and underrepresented groups, including care leavers. The strategy details how the Council will seek to engage suppliers who actively tackle modern slavery and human rights violations as part of the Council's aims to eradicate modern slavery in its supply chains. The strategy also sets out how the Council will seek opportunities to achieve better value through working collaboratively with other local authorities when procurement opportunities align. On a more practical level, the strategy sets out what governance arrangements will be and have been put in place to support an efficient and compliant approach to procurement, including training, supplier engagement networks, closer monitoring of spend and alignment with financial systems, better risk management and performance management of contracts, and ensuring organisationally we have a more joined-up approach to procurement and a procurement service which is user-friendly. A key priority in the strategy is to better lever opportunities through our approach to social value, and the Council will be developing a social value policy and process in order to give suppliers options as to how they can deliver social value through the life of the contract, and how the Council can lever opportunity to deliver on its priorities through social value. Following on from the extensive work undertaken by the project team, our procurement function was audited by our internal auditors, BDO, and the results are appended to the report. The overall assurance level is moderate, which is an improvement. Further work is required around effective project contract management, which is part of the ongoing work programme of the new in-house manager. And finally, I would just like to thank the procurement project team for their commitment and dedication to this project. It's been a huge piece of work to effectively reform our procurement function. And so far, our relationship with our new provider is going well, and we are seeing some real improvements in our procurement performance. Thank you.
Thank you, Fran. Are there any questions or points on the report? Yes, Councillor Ellis.
More in the nature of comments. First of all, I'd like to thank you, Fran, and the members of the team for a very comprehensive report. I'd also like to congratulate the team on the emphasis that they've put on social value, and I hope that goes into action, which is great. Thank you.
Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks, Fran, for that report. This is a practical question, so you may not be the right person to ask, but if with LGR in the back of our minds and not having a clue what's going to happen within a few years, what mechanisms have we put in place under the new procurement process to ensure that we don't inadvertently tie ourselves into really expensive, really long contracts? I'm thinking of, we've got an issue with recycling across the county because somebody years ago signed a contract with Veolia that spanned well over our lifetimes, and it means you can't recycle milk tops and stuff. It's completely nonsense, and you can't get out of it because it costs a fortune to renegotiate. So whatever happens to Gedling, whether it joins with the city or a new county authority, that authority will then be responsible for the contracts and paying out of them, and we don't want to impact the taxpayers any more than we should. So just what mechanisms are in place to prevent that, please?
Well, there's a couple of things that are in trend at the moment. The first thing that we have actually starting in the summer that our legal team are doing with some support from law students is going through pretty much every contract that the council currently has, both in a practical sense, looking at the ability to whether that contract would is able to transfer across, how practically that would work with whoever we end up partnering with, what are the practical arrangements, and is there anything in those contracts that would prohibit the contract being assigned or novated to a different organisation. So that's one of the pieces we're doing over the summer, just trying to figure that out. In terms of, I suppose, longer term, bigger contracts, you're absolutely right. With LGR on the horizon, we don't quite know what the timelines for things are yet. We do need to start thinking about not entangling ourselves in significantly huge contracts with new suppliers or transferring huge IT contracts. So that is a piece of work that obviously our procurement team are well aware of, and we are obviously speaking when they're getting instructions around new procurements, looking at that, because we still have the procurement rules, so it's not always the case that we can simply extend with who we're with or just direct award. The timing of the contract is the timing of the contract. Obviously, when it was set up, we didn't know what was going to be on the horizon. So we are doing the best that we can practically to try and join things up. And where there are opportunities for joint procurement as well, I mean, we put that in our strategy. So where there are opportunities to we know some authorities use similar systems across the board. So where there's an opportunity to perhaps look at that, then we're doing that as well. So it's difficult, obviously, without knowing, exactly what's on the horizon, but we are taking steps, yeah.
Yep, Councillor Brookman.
Thank you. And just to echo earlier comments, but thank you very much for the presentation, and recognise the amount of work that's gone into this is no small amount of effort, I'm sure. So thank you very much for that. It's just a question around one of the objectives is around establishing the social value policy, and that underpins the whole thing. And I'm just checking, do we have a timescale for when we're expecting that to be in place, or ready to go?
So we're starting work on it already. It's in our annual delivery plan. It's also in our procurement strategy, and we're regularly catching up with our in-house contracts and procurement manager to see where we're at with that. In fact, him and I are attending a training session around it to see what some other authorities have. They've kind of developed it in their area, because ideally we do want to link it to those delivery plan actions and the outcomes of that, because that's our ambitions, priorities for the council. So where we can leverage social value into that to support some of those strands, then that's what we're going to try and do. But I'm hoping to have something in draft form towards the end of the summer.
So following on from that, it would be really useful to see that policy when it's written, and to see what the measures will be, to see what the actual impact of that is. And the other point I wanted to raise was, I follow completely the argument around why we've now gone with employing our own procurement. But obviously that's quite a big difference in the cost to the council. So how will we know that we've got value for money for making that extra investment?
Well, that's back to that spend analysis piece. I think one of the problems we identified when we did the whole kind of review is that there was a lot of silo contracting going on. So different departments just going off and contracting things rather than having a joined up approach. And what I think is set out in the financial implications of the report, the hope is that the savings that we'll make through being more efficient in our procurement will kind of pay for the increase in costs. I think the reality was we spent very, very little on procurement. And it simply wasn't enough in terms of the capacity we needed. Also, we do have some big projects on the horizon still that we're working towards, some big, big projects in terms of leisure and so forth, and we need some strong procurement advice around those things, particularly with what's coming over the hill. So in terms of the additional cost, our 151 officer was happy that what we'll achieve in efficiency should ultimately end up sort of paying for the service and that increase.
So will that be scrutinised by Cabinet, or will that come back to us at all?
So it's something that will be looked at by 151 officer as kind of manager for spend on procurement, but I'm happy to bring some information back if committee are interested, along with the social value update, yeah.
Any other questions or comments? No, thank you. Are we just noting that, or do you need us to do any more than that? Thank you. So we're going to take the next two items together because this is also from Fran. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So this is the update on Q3 and Q4 risk from 24-25. So the new risk management framework was adopted by Cabinet in March 2024. And throughout 24-25, a bit like procurement, a new approach to risk management has been embedded throughout the council. So this involved and continues to involve officer training on the risk management strategy and risk scoring, the implementation of a new risk module on the council's performance management system, Pentana, and the establishment of the council's corporate risk board, all of which is aimed to provide a stronger oversight of risk across the organisation. As part of the risk framework, a new set of corporate risks have been agreed, and these are what are reviewed and presented to Audit Committee quarterly and to this committee. There is now closer alignment between departmental and corporate risks, So risks that are highlighted in the system as red at a departmental level will have an impact on the corporate risk levels across the organisation for the relevant risk. In Q3, there was an increase in the risk level across 2 of our corporate risks. Risk number 2, capacity for service delivery, increased quite significantly from a risk score from 6 up to 12. This increase in risk was as a result of capacity issues within the ICT team. This gap in capacity was due to 2 vacancies arising within the team, as well as a review of workload against capacity, which identified the need for a refresh of the ICT team structure. Linked to that increase in capacity risk, there was an increase in the corporate ICT risk. This increased from the risk level 6 to 9, and this was directly linked to that lack of capacity within the ICT team. Across other corporate risks in Q3, there was no change in levels from Q2. There remained a high level of risk in relation to infrastructure and assets, and this links predominantly to infrastructure risks at Carlton Forum, which the council continues to work with the county council on to try and mitigate. Other risks in this sector are linked to the large shed at the depot, which is due for demolition, and I'm pleased to say that the contract for that has now been awarded and work is due to start towards the end of July. As can be seen from the register, actions are identified against each risk in an effort to mitigate those risk levels. Some risks will always sit at a slightly higher level and above the level of our tolerance, particularly in relation to finance, where we continue to face budgetary pressures. In Q4, there was a reduction in risk level across both the capacity risk and the ICT risk, and this was due to a successful review of the ICT service and recruitment exercises, which have seen the majority of posts in ICT filled. The capacity risk lowered from 12 to 9 and from red to amber, and the ICT risk level reduced from 9 to 6. No other risks increased in Q4. Members can see the actions undertaken against the risks as set out in the scorecard. A number of actions were completed in Q4 against the council's contract risk and those related to the procurement work, which was referenced earlier in the agenda. And it's hoped that this level will actually reduce in Q1 because of the good work that's been undertaken in this area. Again, at Q4, the asset risk remained high due to ongoing issues at Carlton Forum. But as I've said, the demolition of the large shed should be commencing at the end of this month. One area of risk management which still requires further work is in relation to council projects. This is a new corporate risk. We have a new programme management approach across the council to projects, and this is well underway with a central portfolio of projects linked to the annual delivery plan actions. Further work is underway to integrate risk registers from those projects onto Pentana and link it more closely with this process of risk management instead of assessing those risks outside of this system. The Corporate Risk Board has now been stood up and meets every other month, and this provides support to risk owners on the correct identification, scoring and management of risks. SLT now also has risk as a weekly agenda item and discusses any risks emerging. To reassure committee, there is a much closer scrutiny of risks across the organisation under the new framework. And we have just recently had an internal audit by BDO in relation to our risk processes, and we're just waiting for the final report from that audit, which should go to September's audit committee. I think overall things are improving, but we recognise this is an ongoing area of work. We have had it's taken some time to get used to the system in terms of how risks are recorded and scored on the new system, but officers are getting there, and overall I'm happy that it's an improving picture. I don't intend to go through every single risk on the scorecard. You can see the levels and the actions that we're planning to take, but I'm obviously happy to answer any specific questions that members may have. Thank you.
So are there any questions or comments on the risk management reviews for Q3 or 4? Sorry, yes.
Yeah, I just wonder if we could get some more detail on where we are at Carlton Forum, please.
Sorry, the question was, can we get any more detail on where we are with Carlton Forum?
I can certainly find out and come back to you. There was some works undertaken. I can't recall exactly when they were undertaken by the County Council, but they didn't alleviate the issue. So we were hopeful that it was going to resolve things, but it didn't fully resolve. So we did end up having to close the toilets again for a period of time. But it's just establishing. It's quite an old drainage system, and the building now has quite a lot of, with being used as a leisure centre, that the capacity on those drains is quite high. Now, I don't know the technicalities of that, but the work is ongoing with the County Council to try and resolve this issue. But we are aware it is a risk and an ongoing one. Yeah.
We don't know the technicalities, but we know what happens. Yeah. Are there any other comments or questions? No, that's fine. Thank you. Again, are we just noting those reports? Thank you. And so we move on now to item 7, the performance from the Gedling plan Q4. Is that you as well, Fran?
Sorry, I feel like I've hijacked the committee a little bit. So this is the presentation of performance of Q4 against the Gedling plan actions. So this is covering the period January to March 2025, and it touches on the year-end performance for the whole of the year. So starting with the actions, there were 96 actions included in the Gedling plan for delivery during 24-25, and at the year-end, 56 were completed, with the remaining 40 being carried forward into 25-26 Gedling plan. Good progress is being made on these, and further information is provided in the detailed appendix to the report. In terms of Q4 and year-end performance indicators, there are 30 indicators, of which 11 were either on or above target, 3 were slightly below target, and 8 missed the target. We had 8 indicators that were for data tracking purposes only. So the table at paragraph 2.4 shows examples of particularly positive performance, and just to draw your attention to a few of these. Firstly, the number of visits to the leisure centres continues to exceed expectations. We've achieved an annual figure of 1.3 million visitors this year against a target of 1.2 million. And I've said it in several meetings, but again, a huge thank you to our leisure team, because in terms of their commitment to driving income through the service, it's been quite incredible in the last year. The number of affordable homes delivered, we have achieved a figure of 105 this year against a target of 75. And the percentage of major planning applications processed within 13 weeks, the council has achieved 100% for the year against a target of 92%. So that is extremely positive. The reasons for the 8 indicators that have missed the target are set out in paragraph 2.5 of the report. They're all relatively close to the target, with the only 2 exceptions being the processing of new benefit claims, with an annual performance of 20.3 days against a target of 15 days. And benefit change in circumstances, with an annual performance of 7.7 days against a target of 5 days. Paragraph 2.6 provides a summary of the position regarding compliments and complaints, and these continue to be reviewed regularly by the senior leadership team. In terms of achievements in Q4, these were presented as part of the Council's annual report, which was actually only presented to Cabinet last week. Last week, I think, the 10th, the last Cabinet meeting, 10th of July. And that is going to be shortly published on our council website. And the Gedling annual plan report just sets out some of the really positive work that's been undertaken across the council over the last year, with particular highlights around some of the things that have been achieved with the UK SPF funding, sports pitches improvements, jobs fairs, the HGV training that was delivered that's secured employment for a number of people who participated in that. So some really positive things in that document, and that's going to be published on our website shortly. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Yeah, Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks, Fran, for the report. The paragraph 2.6, the 56% of complaints relating to waste services matches my inbox on casework. the amount of times people contact me about missed bins and stuff. And obviously there's been an increase. As a councillor, I can tell you there's been an increase, and the figures show there's been an increase. We've got a review in September on the work programme about this. Can we just have assurance that that will include bin collection as well as litter and fly tipping? Fly tipping is a big thing which triggered that request in September, but I do think we need to have a big look at the bin collection and things we can do to improve it, because as I say, the figures speak for themselves. It is becoming a frequent problem, particularly in rural areas where the lorries can't get down the streets and stuff like that. It's becoming a big problem.
Yeah. If I may just mention in relation to that as well, there has been a lot of work undertaken in waste. There's been a complete review of the service. I recognise there has been a bit of a spike in complaints recently. We have now, on a positive note, I suppose, got all our crews using the new white space system as of last week. And actually already, in the last 2 weeks, that's already showing a huge improvement in performance. Sorry? So Whitespace is the new waste management software. So it's the in-cab devices, so that the drivers and the loaders have to check off each bin that's collected, and if there isn't, if they haven't collected it, reasons why they haven't collected it, so that customer services can then see that and report directly to the customer why their bin hasn't been collected, or if it's been missed, they can send the crews, straight back out. So already in the last literally in the last couple of weeks since that system's been implemented, we are starting to see some improvement. So I'm certainly hopeful that and I'm happy to include litter waste as part of that review, that we will see some massive improvements in that area. Yeah, sorry if I may. Sarah Troman's actually doing some demos of Whitespace before full council on Wednesday. I think she sent some invites out, just to have a bit of a look at, so you can see how it works. Yeah, sorry.
Councillor Adams, you?
Just on that white space, when I think, is it all bins are in it now? I know it was. I think we're doing it in phase, aren't we? Are we doing all colours of bins now, or is it just the garden? I think the garden waste had been established, hadn't it?
I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me. I'm pretty sure all rounds are on there, so we can see all rounds now. So it's taken some time, but there's been some training with all the drivers, because obviously it's quite a new system for them, and it takes some getting used to. And some crews are doing a fantastic job and really putting a lot of detail in there, but it's just getting used to it, and it is going to take a bit of time. But as I say, from a data point of view, so seeing where those gaps are, seeing where those problem streets are in just one click, and going, obviously there's an issue on that street, why is that whole street not been collected? And they'll say, oh, there's a vehicle blocking, or there's whatever, and then we can say, right, okay, this is when we can go back at. So it's much more data-led and much easier to plan and direct the crews where to go. So, yeah.
Councillor Ellis?
Thank you. I appreciate, I'm still on bins, sorry. I appreciate that trade waste collection is different to domestic waste collection. But can I inquire, is trade waste collection also on Whitespace?
I will find out the answer before the end of the meeting. I'm not sure whether it is yet. All the domestic rounds are on. And the plan is that it will go on there. I just don't know whether it has gone live on there yet, but I'll try and find the answer before the end.
Councillor Maltby?
Thank you. Obviously, sitting on other committees, I've become aware that there's been historic problems with absences, particularly within waste management. So obviously this has contributed somewhat towards the issues we've got. Can we have some reassurances that the absences are now at an acceptable level?
Not 100% no. We do have some issues with absence management across the depot. What is positive is that today our Assistant Director for depots started. So Julie Snowden joined the council today. Obviously, Sarah Troman is the Director of Operations, who joined in January. We have had a change in the structure down at the depot. So we have had some people leaving the organisation, which again has meant that we've had a bit of a capacity issue as we've implemented the new structure, and we've filled the posts across waste and parks and fleet. Most of those posts are now filled. So as I said, the assistant director started today. We have a new parks manager starting in August. So again, we're hopeful that these things are going to start improving. And I think to your point about absence management, there does need to be some strong management around that. And absolutely, that's part of this sort of new approach, I suppose, we're taking across the depot. That's not to say that there isn't absolutely genuine sickness management issues. It's a very difficult manual job. You know, there are some health issues, and we need to look after those staff as well and make sure that everybody is being treated fairly and appropriately. But there's a lot of work going on, and if you've been on other committees, you'll know that there is a lot of things happening down there in terms of that process.
Councillor Whiting.
Thanks, Chair. Before I join in the bin conversation, could I just draw everyone's attention to the final example of positive performance on 2.4, at the bottom of page 3, which is the number of long-term homes brought back into use. We seem to praise Nicky Bryan every meeting, every opportunity we get, but I think exceeding target by 40% and bringing nearly 100 homes, that's nearly as many homes brought back into use as we've delivered affordable homes, I think is fantastic. And that's obviously doing fantastic work there, so congratulations to her. But just on bins and bin complaints, sorry, just so I'm clear in my mind, say you've got an estate, we've got a couple of estates in Colic where one car parked in a wrong place means you miss like 100 bins because you can't get to any of the houses. If all of those people complain, is that 100 complaints, or is that one complaint because they're all complaining about the same thing?
It will probably be 100 complaints. It's just that we do add up them and start to realise they're all coming from the State Street. But everything that comes in is logged as a fresh contact with the council. So they do a thing for every single complaint request that comes in. So they're all, yeah. So we have had, we recognise sometimes if a street's closed, we will get a lot, yeah. Yeah, I mean, as well, not to be, absolutely we get complaints, but also we have, the performance of our bin crews, our strike rate is actually really high, but it is, I appreciate that when there's significant areas that might get repeatedly missed, then that obviously does cause discontent.
Thank you. So you didn't know you were going to have to be an expert on bins. And I think it's a bit sad, isn't it? Because everybody complains when their bin doesn't get emptied, but in some of that really awful weather, bins got collected on days, certainly I wasn't sure that ours would. So I think they should be congratulated for some of that. And I people don't give compliments for normal practice, but actually in some circumstances it's above and beyond. I did want to make one comment that might sound a bit measly, but where we overachieve, and I suppose in contrast where we underachieve a target, do we review the target before setting it next year to make sure it's stretchy enough?
Yeah, we do. So we review KPIs every year. So the KPIs for 25-26 were agreed at Cabinet. I can't remember now. I don't know. But they have been agreed. And yeah, you're absolutely right. We do look at where we're, consistently smashing the target. Well, is the target too low? Or likewise, if we're never going to meet that target, are we being unrealistic about what to achieve? So yeah.
Thank you. So we're noting that report as well. Thank you. So thank you, Fran. You can relax. Item 8 is the Scrutiny work programme. So Emma.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So it's just a bit of a update and also some information / I would like your wants and needs, because I've got a few bits and bobs. So in the report, Ben has listed who people have suggested for future partnerships. We've secured the next meeting, so we're going to have somebody from the Department for Work and Pensions come and give us a presentation. They're going to come in September, but we also have a few more on the list. So I wanted to get some views on sort of prioritisation. So just to confirm, so who you've suggested is the Calverton Court, the Citizens Advice Bureau, Friends of Breckhill Park, Friends of Gedling Country Park, Hope Nottingham, Nottingham County Council, and then Arcan. Is there any preference of urgency in these? Or should I just pick who I think would suit the agenda best? What would members want?
There doesn't seem to be a matter of urgency for anyone. Oh, Councillor Ellis, sorry.
Sorry to add an extra one on.
That's fine.
I was looking at all these various friends groups of parks. Friends of Bestwood Country Park.
Yes, I can add that.
Thank you.
And also, as you can see, there's quite a long list. Are we happy to have two and then just give them a short time to present in rather than have one it taking a long time? To say you have 15 minutes, give us an overview, and maybe do two per meeting. Would that suit members? Okay, I'll try and do that. And then just a bit of an update on the actual work programme. So as Councillor Pope said, we haven't got a member of Cabinet here today due to illness, but we have got it secured for the next meeting, which is Councillor Viv McCrossan. We've also pushed forward the review of the fly tipping to sort of align with her portfolio as well. So hopefully that will be helpful. Also, is there anything else that you wanted to discuss? We've got at the bottom, we've still got parks and the Gedling plan review sort of down there, but not in slotted into any certain dates. Is there anything of that you want to move into certain dates, or do you have any additional things that you want to review? Appreciating that we will have obviously a portfolio holder and partners at the next, so keeping it doable. Yeah.
Councillor Ellis.
I don't know what other members of the committee feel about this, but obviously not until next year probably, but review of LGR.
In what way? So of implementation of plans, because the council and cabinet get all of that information. Are you thinking of just deeper scrutiny of that, or what are you thinking? Just so I can prepare officers. There's only certain.
What do other people think?
So in November is when we will know the final option in the report. After that is sort of the work to implement it. So probably after that. So looking at the calendar, realistically probably January. That's when you probably have a bit of an update on what's happened, what's going to happen, a bit more information timelines. Would that suit members if I was to add that as a update item to that committee?
Are we sure what the purpose is of it coming here? Because at that point, what will we be reviewing? How the decision was made?
I'm not sure that's going to be very productive, but certainly implementation. But I would add the caveat: if we're too early days, then it should be pushed to later in the year.
I mean, post-implementation, we might not be here to do it.
I think January is a reasonable time to see what's going to happen, see what's planned, and then give any comments and views. As you will hear soon, and as we all expected, there will be some public consultation on LGR. So as members of the public, you're all going to get the chance to have your say on that anyway. But this is a good forum for members to come together to review and scrutinise. So I think that's a good idea. I'll add that to the January meeting. I think that was it from me, unless anybody has any more.
Councillor Duncan?
Yes, thank you. I thought we'd all agreed towards the end of last year that we'd have a regular report from Carlton Town Board, and I haven't seen a dicky bird since. I'm aware of a couple of things that have happened. I know the chair has resigned. I know that it's been extended to Mapperley. And nothing has come to this committee, despite the fact I'm sure that we agreed we'd have a regular report to the committee. And if it's been extended to Mapperley, well, then it's going to get extended to Arnold, and then all of it's going to get spent in Arnold, isn't it? Because that's how this council goes. So I really would like to know, are we going to have a regular report on Carlton Town Board?
Yes, we can bring it. So as far as I know, the board is now set after the change of government and their reaffirmation of the programme. They have a list of projects from before that they're still sort of working through. I think I was at a parish clerks meeting the other day where Nathan Wall, who is the assistant director for the area, he gave a bit of an update on the project and sort of the area. and I showed members to the area of the website where there's information on. So what I can do is I can put it on September as an update to say what's happened, where we're at, what the implementation is, and I can get all the information of where the area is, what the current projects are. That's fine. That's quite easy to do, so I can add that. And I'm sorry that wasn't added before. I didn't recall that. We can blame Ben. He's not here. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I think at the very least we should be seeing the minutes of their meetings, and we need to know in this council, because it's an enormous amount of money that's being spent in our council area. We need to be kept up to date with what's going on.
I think their minutes are available because I've read some. But I appreciate your point about being able to scrutinise them, yeah.
Yeah.
Councillor Maltby.
Yes, just adding on to Councillor Duncan's point, is there a time limit in which this money has to be spent before it's actually lost?
10 years, I believe. I think it's over a 10-year period.
Councillor Whiting.
Another issue that we might like to consider, I've got a question about it on Wednesday, so I don't want to preempt that, but the use of AI within the council and how that's developing and will develop, and policies, etc., I think would be an interesting, I would find it interesting anyway, whether anyone else would.
If it's helpful, it might be useful to have a bit of an update on the ICT transformation generally, because there's quite a lot that's obviously, we've got white space, we've got the CRM system, we've got new website, we've got all this stuff that's sort of happened. It might be helpful, yeah. But I'm not going to spoil tomorrow's answer.
Wednesday. Councillor Roy Allen.
Just to be clear, that the minutes are available on Gedling Borough Council's website. I've just done a quick search, and the makeup of the board, and a little brief synopsis as well.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Fran.
No, trade waste is not yet on the white space system. That is in phase 2.
Thank you. So, is that, oh, I've swapped paper. Oh, hands everywhere. Right, Councillor Ellis.
Sorry, I'm sure it's in the report somewhere. When is phase 2?
I don't know. I'm hoping it's soon, because phase 1 was all the domestic waste, and that's gone on there. So I'm frantically WhatsApping my director to find out.
Councillor Smith.
You're going to tell me you already do this, and I don't know whose portfolio is what, which is fine if that's the answer. But like in September, I don't know if it's Viv or Marge who's responsible for bin collection. Is it Marge? Would it be appropriate if we have the cabinet member giving up their update on their department that tries and syncs with the review that's on the agenda? Because obviously their input into that discussion would be welcome before we agree the plan for that review, if that makes sense. So having Marge...
That makes absolute sense, but can we check, because Councillor McCrossan has been unable to attend about 3 meetings. So
I just use that as an example, but for the whole work programme, yeah.
I would agree, and I will check with Viv, Councillor McCrossan, but I know that this date has been set for a long time, and I think they're very busy, so let me check. No, I completely agree. But again, what we could do is potentially have them both, because the area is very similar. They could talk about cross sections, and then hopefully it will link with that. And again, it might make the update more concise and more relevant to what you want to know. So I will see if Marge is free, and I'll let you know. Thank you.
I see no further hands, so thank you. I haven't been notified of any other urgent business, so the meeting is therefore closed.